Hello everyone, this is Snow White with my Bigfoot Diary Part 12. This will cover May 2016. On May 6th, we returned home from our vacation. The porch was still intact, so that was good. We were gone a week, and when I checked the porch, most of the toys were knocked off. The apple that had been on the railing was gone, and the banana that was beside it was partially eaten. The fruit that I had left in the basket was mostly all still there, which really surprised me because I figured even if the Bigfoot didn't take it, some small animals would, especially since it was sitting on the floor of the back porch. So as you can see before we left what it looked like, and then there was one banana gone and maybe one apple, so not much was taken by anything. As you might have noticed in the previous pictures, I had moved the basket of fruit over into the yard at the corner of the porch. I purchased some new gifts for my Bigfoot friends while I was on vacation, so I put the one out that I thought they would probably like the best. It was a piece to make your own necklace with. It was a wire twisted into a spiral ball, and it was made of gold tone metal. I put it in a shell to keep it from rolling away, as you can see here. When I saw it, I thought, yeah, they're going to like that. May 7th. So when I got up and checked the porch, that little gold necklace piece was gone, so they did like it. That made me really happy. Also, one banana was gone from the basket. As you can see there, it's gone. One banana's gone. When I did my walk around the house, I found a large foot impression in the grass. It was at the corner of the garage at the front of the house, beside a large bush, and it measured 17 inches. So I guess Big Daddy was up last night, perhaps keeping a lookout while another one went to the back porch. This is the bush that it was beside, and that bush is right beside the corner of the garage. And this is the impression. It would be a right foot. Then I walked up the driveway and found more impressions, going right along the edge of the grass and the dirt. There were several, and they all measured 17 inches. So they looked similar in shape to the one that was in the grass. So I think it was the same individual that stood by the bush in the yard. And I've seen 17-inch footprints along the edge of the driveway before, so it makes me wonder if the big guy takes that route a lot. So here's some of them, and some of them aren't real great looking, but they were spaced apart like something had walked up along there. Now this one and the next one I think look a little better. And this one. It's just too much of a coincidence, I think, that they're all measuring 17 inches, and then they were spaced apart the same too. And what's really weird is they were about 4.5 feet apart, so that's pretty big step. May 8th, this was a Sunday, and the night before I put some leftover steak out that I didn't want, and this morning it was gone, and that little orange toy was knocked onto the porch too. So we went to our Sunday meeting and then to my in-laws for dinner, and then we came home. I looked at the back porch and didn't see any changes while we were gone. And I had taken an allergy pill, so I got really tired and I took a nap. I decided to leave the curtains open for an experiment to see if anything would happen while I took my nap. And I did that because there were the other 2 times that things showed up on the back porch while I slept. So the first thing I did when I woke up was check the porch, and here's what I found. It's that little necklace piece. They brought it back while I was taking my nap, and they stuck it behind the siding trim again. I took it out, and this is what it looked like. And I was laughing because I just knew when they took it that it would come back stretched out. uh, so I don't know if they put it back behind there all squished up because they had stretched it out or what. It's pretty funny. So I tried to fix it the best I could and put it back to see if they would want to take it again, but they never did. So I ended up just putting it in my box with my other Bigfoot treasures. On the 9th, nothing was touched in the toy section, and the fruit basket, which had 5 apples and a banana in it last night, was tipped over. 3 apples were on the ground, partially eaten, and beside the apples was a couple small pieces of apple laying there, and the banana was gone, and there was what looked like a 17-inch impression beside the basket, too. Kind of hard to see in the pictures, but I could see it. May 10th, I put 4 wings on a paper plate out last night, and today 1 wing was gone, but the plate wasn't knocked off and nothing else right beside it was disturbed. So to me that eliminates any small animals. And the apples that were on the ground beside the basket yesterday are now moved out into the yard, and around the apples it looked like apple had been chewed up and spit out, just like that pineapple peel earlier this year. So what does that? And you see the spot where the 1 wing was taken? And I find it interesting that it's on the side where the toys are. So like if a little animal got up there to get that 1 wing off and not knock the paper plate off, surely it would have kicked over the toys. And then the chewed up apple. It got me thinking, what would do that? If it's a Bigfoot, maybe it's a baby that really can't eat solid food yet, so maybe it was chewing up the apple and spitting it out just to get the juices. It's just a thought. I don't know. But I mean, I can't figure out what else would do that. May 12th, I, I knew that they were up last night because of 2 things. First of all, the dolls. The girl doll was moved back and turned on its side. And that little Hershey Kiss, that little glass Hershey Kiss was turned, as you can see. Then I was walking around the house at about 7:30 in the morning taking pictures because it was foggy and pretty out. When I got to the driveway in front of the house, I heard a really loud, high-pitched scream come from the woods on the west side of the property. It stopped me in my tracks. It was loud. This is the picture I was taking, and the scream came from where that arrow is pointing. On the 13th, last night I put some pudding out in a bowl with a lid on it, an apple, and a little blue rock. The rock is about the same color as that blue glass stuff that they gave me, and I bought it while I was on vacation for that very reason, because I thought they might like it. Here's how I left things. This morning I don't even know what to make of this, what I found. First of all, as you can see, the pudding is spilled. The lid is pretty far out away from the porch. Some of the pudding had been eaten, and that blue rock is on the ground in front of the porch, and the man doll was turned. There's a closer look at that. And at some point during the day, they took that blue rock, but I didn't keep track of exactly when, so I'm not sure when they took it, but they never did return it. That's the first thing that they took and kept, which I'm kind of happy about. Then on the 14th, the banana I left on the railing was gone, but the apple was clear over by the fire pit, so that was kind of weird. On the 15th, when I woke up and did my rounds in the yard, I noticed what looked like something big had stepped into the weeds at the edge of the yard beside the garage. As you can see there, it just looks like something walked right in there. As I walked into the driveway, I saw what looked like a possible impression of some kind. It was small. I'm not sure what it was, but it sort of resembled a hand impression. It may be nothing, nothing, but as I stood beside it, I heard a really loud vocalization come from down on the west side near the spring, and it was that owl sound that we hear all the time. And it felt like it was directed right at me. So here's a picture of the impression. It would be a left hand if it's a hand. I'm not even sure if it is anything, but it does look kind of weird. May 16th. Okay, on the 15th, I'd put that little ball in the shell to keep it from rolling away. And on the 16th, it was on the ground, but the shell had not moved. So that tells me something picked it up and took it out of the shell. Also, the banana was peeled. I found the peel clear over beside the garage in the grass. And the apple was more that chewed up apple spit out. So I'm not sure what that's all about still. Also, the mandal was moved. And then on the 17th, all the fruit and the food that I put out the night before was gone. The banana was peeled again, and the peel was in the yard. The inside was eaten. And the marble that was inside the shell was on the porch. So, but as you can see in that one picture, the shell was still up on the railing, so something had to take that marble out and put it on the porch. On the 19th, here's how I left things the day before. It was an apple, a banana, that's a little tiny cow that I put in there, keep it from falling off. And then here's how I found it. First of all, the apple was gone and the banana was peeled and eaten again. The peel was on the porch this time. The cow was picked up and it was laying beside the shell that it was in, and then the sand dollar was turned over. It was upside down and kind of underneath the other shell. Now when I looked closely into this shell, I saw a hair in there. And I got to thinking, if something with its fingers picked the cow up and moved it out, maybe that's a Bigfoot hair. So I decided to collect it, and I did. This is a closer up picture of it. The one end on the left was white colored, and it gradually turns to black. So it was probably 3 inches long, maybe. So I am not sure what that was, but I still have it. May 20th. The banana and apple were gone, and the large shell was moved a little bit. The cow was knocked over, but there was dirt on the marbles that was in the shell, which I found really interesting. Because the night before, there was no dirt on the marbles. So something with dirty fingers touched the marbles, especially that big blue one. And you can see the shell was moved a little bit. So I put out a new mouse, an apple, banana, and a jar of peanut butter. And there's what that all looked like. On the 21st, the apple was gone, the banana was peeled and eaten, and the peel was on the porch again. The peanut butter was knocked off, but it wasn't opened, and the mouse was not touched. It was the only thing left up on the railing. We went to town and we bought some flowers to plant in the backyard, and when we got back at around noon, I'm pretty sure I checked the porch. I didn't see anything had changed. So we grilled some food outside and then we took it in and we ate it for lunch. And we just hung out in the house because it was raining off and on. So at about 6 o'clock, my husband walked out to the back porch and he came right back in dangling that mouse that had been out on the railing. It had been unraveled. He said he opened the door to the porch and either hit it with the door or kicked it, and it went rolling. So I went out to the porch to investigate, and I looked on the railing, and behind the siding trim was a limestone rock. Here's a picture of the string, or the mouse with the string. I had him put it out so I could take pictures of it. I'm training him not to disturb things before I can document it. And here's the limestone rock that I found. They put it in the same place that they put the thread and the necklace piece. I just find that really funny. They keep putting things there. So they most likely unraveled the mouse and put the rock behind the siding while we were inside between 12 and 6. That blew our minds because that they had done that while we were home and in the broad daylight. So we went out to look for footprints in the yard. We didn't see anything. We came around the side of the house and was approaching the tree that's in the backyard by the porch, the one with the bench beside it. As we got a little closer to it, I saw something laying on the bench. And I said to my husband, "What is that on the bench?" So when we got up to it, we couldn't believe what it was. It was a pair of my husband's pliers. There it is, laying on the corner. I mean, I was just like baffled. My husband was like, "Those are my pliers." So it got me to thinking back, and I remembered that after we got back from vacation, I had accidentally left the door from the porch into the garage propped wide open all night. And we had been kidding about what might be missing from the garage because we knew that they had taken that sink part from the garage. My husband said that he's positive that those pliers were in his toolbox in the garage. So that means that at least one Bigfoot went into our garage, got into my husband's toolbox, and borrowed his pliers. Now, I found this to be hilarious. My husband, however, wasn't quite as amused. It was actually pretty hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that a Bigfoot had been in our garage and looked through the toolbox. I mean, that's mind-blowing stuff. I told my husband, well, not everybody can say that a Bigfoot's borrowed their pliers. So here's how I set things up for the night. I put the string that they had unraveled out in case they wanted a bell on the end. Of course, you can see a pear, banana, the peanut butter, and a red dye, and the dolls. 22nd. The pear and banana were gone. The peanut butter was knocked off the railing, but the dye was not moved. You can see there the string was on the ground, and the man doll and the woman doll were on the ground. May 24th. On the 23rd, I'd put 2 wings out on a paper towel, and in the morning, 1 wing was gone again, and nothing else was disturbed. So May 25th. There was absolutely nothing touched on the porch. I wouldn't have made an entry in my diary had it not been for what I found that was very interesting. First of all, this is the year for the 17-year cicadas. So we went out to see if there was a bunch on the tree. My husband looked up into the tree and noticed some more of that baler's twine tied up in there. It was on the opposite side of the tree from where the other twine is tied up. And what is really strange is that the day before, on the 24th, we'd been out there under that part of the tree discussing where we might hang a swing. We were pointing up into the part of the tree where that string is, and we were talking. So now today, there's the string. So we surely would have seen it yesterday when we were looking up in there. So it made me wonder, had the Bigfoot seen us talking and pointing up in there, and that's why they put the string there, or did they do it for a different reason? I don't know. But it's really interesting. First of all, look at how that is looped around the branch and it's tied. Or, well, it's not a knot, but it's looped, and then the two parts come together, but then they separate again there in the middle of that branch, and then it gets very confusing. It's wrapped around there, it's looped, it's tied in a knot. That it could not have in any way blown up in there. It had to be looped around that branch and tied. I'm going to bring something else up here that I have not mentioned yet. Back on April 12th of this same year, when I was out back walking along the fence line that borders the upper part of the west side, I found a bunch of that string tied onto the fence. I tried to reason it away as someone trying to repair the old fence years ago, but I thought that I surely would have noticed it before because I'd walked by there so many times. Also, the more I looked at it, it didn't make any sense for it to be a repair. The knots and the loops and where the loops were didn't make any sense for repairing a fence. Then when I saw today the string tied up in the tree, it just solidified in my mind that the string on the fence in the back was what my gut told me it was, and that is that it was Bigfoot related. The loop up in the tree is just like the loops on the fence. I think that it's possible that a Bigfoot sat back there or stood there in the back and tied that string all on the fence. Now, my first thought was that it was done for maybe entertainment or an artistic expression, because that's what it looks like to me. But my second thought was maybe it's some sort of a marker. But whatever the purpose, it's really interesting, and I thought it was pretty, and here's the pictures. So, I mean, if you can pause the video and look at these closely and look at, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for repairing the fence. So, I could be wrong, but to me, it makes no sense. Like, why is that tied around there, but there's a loop, the big loop on the left? What's the loop for? And then again, looking at the tree, this was the one I found today. And then on the opposite side of the tree, this is the one I found earlier. It was also tied up in there. Now this next clip was shot back on March 18th. This is the string that I talked about finding in my Bigfoot Diary Part 10. I thought this string was found near a new X that I had found, but upon reviewing this video last night, I saw that it's actually right beside the older, larger X, which to me is very interesting and significant, because I definitely would have seen the string when I was down there before the day that I shot this. And it being right beside the large X and in the log formations on the ground seems pretty significant. So let's take a look at this video. You'll see what I mean. And this is a Y stick. Now I'm making this video on April 4th, 2017, so 2 days ago from now, I was taking a walk along the wood line in the back, which just happens to be on the opposite side of the field from where I found all the string tied on the fence and from that video I was just showing. I noticed more of the string tied to the fence over here on that side, and there was a large stick that was leaned up against the fence. There's also a large branch on the other side of the fence leaning on the fence, and it was stuck into the fence, and it was also leaning on the other large stick. I took some video of it, so here, take a look at it. So the string is something I'm not 100% positive about, but it's just getting to be too much to chalk up to coincidence, especially when the string in the tree is up 6 to 10 feet, and we know of absolutely nobody that tied it up in there. So on the 27th, there had been no activity on the porch since the 24th, when they took that one chicken wing. I think that perhaps not so coincidentally that it's also the same day that the 17-year cicadas began to emerge in great numbers. So I'm beginning to wonder if the Bigfoot are not coming up to the porch because they're busy eating the cicadas. They might view this as a great food source and a special treat, because I know of even some people that are eating these things. I took these pictures at work of one emerging. Pretty weird. Now, recently I'd been finding a lot of odd-looking stick arrangements in the yard, and I was keeping track of them, but I wasn't sure it was anything Bigfoot related until this morning. There were a set of 3 sticks in the front yard since the 23rd, and this morning they were changed. I asked my husband if he might have stepped on them when he was getting in his truck, but he said no, he was sure he didn't. So here's what they looked like. The top picture is the 23rd, and you can see the stick on the right is laying flat. On the 27th, it's turned so that one part on the end is sticking straight up in the air. Also, there was possibly another 3-stick pointer made, and this was pointing towards the side yard beside the house. And there was a really large stick beside it. And then these showed up overnight. I found them on the 24th. And notice how similar in size and shape that they are. The first one was found in the backyard, and the second one was found in the front yard. It just struck me how similar that they were. And they showed up overnight. So May 29th, this was a Sunday, and a lot of things seem to happen on Sundays. Like I said, there had been no activity on the porch for 5 days. But this afternoon we found a little surprise. Down in the doll section, I found another limestone rock between the girl doll and the Bigfoot doll. I'm thinking that they put it there just to let me know that they hadn't forgotten about me. I think it's significant that they put it in with the dolls because they've never put anything there before. And it is between the girl and the Bigfoot. So perhaps this is some symbol of friendship, which is one reason it made me think that maybe they were letting me know they hadn't forgot about me. So there's where they put it. It just really felt symbolic to me, so it made me feel good. So that's a good way to end May, and I feel that I'm making good progress in building trust and a possible friendship of sorts with these wonderful creatures, which makes me very happy. And thank you for watching.